This video is sponsored by Surfshark. Positional play is a tactical term that refers to a certain philosophy some coaches use in football practice. Generally speaking, it is a style of play that focuses on creating and exploiting space and superiorities by manipulating the opposition's team's movement and positioning. Positional play is also founded on the principle of dividing the pitch into different zones and then ensuring those zones are always occupied by the right player at the right time. Welcome, and today's video is going to be an interesting one. We are going to be looking at how to implement positional play into Football Manager. By doing so, we are going to be breaking down exactly what it is and the different examples of it, and in hope that you guys can now create some fantastic Football Manager tactics. You can possibly play like Pep Guardiola and HANSI Flick. Who doesn't want to? So let's get stuck in and break down positional play. For the analysis and the research, we will be using 3 different pages. We got the Coach's Voice, Positional Play, Football Tactics Explained. On the Total Football Analysis website, we got the Tactical Theory, Positional Play, but also on Total Football Analysis as well, we have Bayern Munich, Positional Play in Possession under HANSI Flick. Now, this analysis here, this HANSI Flick, this is going to help me, or it helped me create one of the examples in Football Manager, and these 2 sites obviously helped me create 2 other examples in Football Manager as well. So let's get stuck in and get to reading. In one particular use of positional play that is prompted by Pep Guardiola, the pitch is split into different zones. The model uses vertical and horizontal lines on the pitch with each player assigned to a zone. There should never be more than 3 players on a horizontal plane and never more than 2 on any vertical plane in order to create passing options for the player in possession. Players need to be ready to move based on the movement of a teammate. This creates constant rotations that aim to disrupt the opposition. Positional play applies to any part of the pitch, from goal kick restarts and midfield play to attacking half and the final third. The intention remains the same throughout, to create space and several passing options for the ball carrier. The precise tactical requirements may vary depending on the area of the pitch and the exact intentions of the coach. Now, what are the in-possession responsibilities of a team that uses positional play? The aim of any team using positional play is to at least forge one of 3 types of superiority: numerical, qualitative, and positional. Numerical superiority is an overload in any area of the pitch. So think about creating wide overloads in triangles, creating those 3 versus 2 or those 2 versus 1s in those wider areas. Qualitative superiority is when a player who is superior to their direct opponent isolates them in a 1v1 situation. So again, think about creating an overload on one side of the pitch, but then hitting that long diagonal to the other side where a winger possibly is 1v1 against a fullback, where you are backing your pacey or tricky winger to beat that fullback in a 1v1 situation. Positional superiority involves in getting players in positions between or behind the opposition lines, where they are more likely to have time and space on the ball and thus more likely to affect the game. Any player in a team using positional play must always strive to achieve one of these 3 types of superiority. Players must use the whole width of the pitch when in possession to create as much space as possible in the center of the pitch. They must also be aware of where they should be and where their teammates are, so they can adjust their position constantly. Off the ball, players must take up positions that provoke the opposition into movements that open up passing lanes for the ball carrier. So now it's time to look at those examples of those super tactics. But before we do you know what else is super? Do you? We are very lucky that our good friends at Surfshark have given all of us a very good deal. This video is sponsored by Surfshark, a VPN service provider protecting you on the internet at all times. But what exactly is a VPN? A VPN is a virtual private network protecting your connection while you're using the internet. It makes your browser private. God knows what you guys have been searching on. Hides your IP, your internet protocol address, and ensures your internet service provider does not track you. But of course, the good news doesn't stop there. You guys get 83% off, but also an extra 3 months for free. And you do have a 30-day guaranteed as well. So there is literally no risk in trying this out. Surfshark has over 32,000 servers in 65 different countries, meaning you can unblock streams that are only being shown in certain countries. So yes, you can access and unblock streaming services in different countries, like the whole of the Netflix library. And all you've got to do is change your virtual location. If you're someone like me that loves to watch US shows, especially on Netflix, we can do that by changing our virtual location. Whether you're browsing on your phone, your laptop, your tablet, it doesn't matter, because Surfshark is on all devices, and one Surfshark account, you have unlimited access on all devices as well. And you know, like your online and personal data, all of that is protected from cyber attacks and hackers. A VPN encrypts your online data and helps you secure your personal information when you use free public Wi-Fi, which can be a goldmine for hackers. Masking your IP address is essential to becoming private online. A VPN makes sure that your city, country, and download history aren't linked to your identity. Also, Surfshark does not monitor, track, or store what you do online. This means no connection or activity logs. Like I mentioned before, there is literally no risk to trying this out. For number one, you have 83% off using my code RDF, but also you have an extra 3 months for free with a 30-day guarantee. Literally no risk. So try it out, and by trying it out, you will also be helping this channel out massively, and that would be hugely appreciated. Now let's get back in to Football Manager. So now it's time to look at those examples, and example number one, we're going to be looking at Pep Guardiola at Manchester City. City are the best and most successful proponent of positional play. They try and gain a numerical advantage in the first line through their centre-backs moving wide and the number 6 taking up a position beyond the opposition's first line of defence to create a triangle. The centre-backs try to provoke the opposition's forwards into jumping out to press, in turn creating a passing lane for the midfielder. The aim is to get the pivot on the ball. The player is positioned in a central zone in the hope of them being able to progress play wide to a fullback or a midfielder. If the pass to the midfielder is not on, they play to their centre-back partner. They can drive beyond the opposition's first line and find a forward pass from there. In the opposition half, players occupy at different heights. The aim is the same as in the build-up phase, to find a player beyond the next line of the defence. The wingers stay wide on both sides to stretch the pitch. Their hope is to get into the space beyond the last line. Now for the next example, Luiz Enrique at Spain. Under Enrique, their aim was to get their many talented attacking midfielders into positions between the lines to receive. While City maintained width to stretch the pitch through their wingers, Spain did so through their fullbacks. So in Football Manager, we will be looking at a Pep Guardiola tactic, looking at numerical and positional superiority. For the Spain tactic, we will be looking at positional superiority. But lastly, for the HANSI flick, we will be looking at qualitative superiority. Now, many times Bayern look to take advantage of qualitative superiority on their wings. On the left side especially, Alphonso Davies flourished as an attacking fullback under flick. Bayern's positional balance was on display as Davies rotated positions first with Thiago, who dropped down to receive a pass from Alaba. Gnabry then dropped more centrally, allowing Davies to progress forward and rotate positionally as well. Thiago quickly played Davies into space, leaving Davies 1v1 with Daya Upamecano in a large amount of space. But Davies turned this into a foot race and absolutely blew past the centre-back, fizzing a ball across the 6-yard box with 2 Bayern attackers missing the driven cross. Bayern also looked to take advantage of qualitative superiorities on the right wing, regardless of the personnel. Muller began his run halfway through Alaba's patient dribbling, dragging the defender with him. Gnabry on the right this time was providing width. The qualitative superiority comes into play when considering how much area Hoffenheim's left back had to cover in order to properly defend against Gnabry. The defender was unable to get close enough to Gnabry without leaving lots of space behind him. Gnabry crossed the ball into the box where 2 Bayern attackers had a numerical advantage over 1 centre-back marking them. Transition, goal. Now, why use positional play in the first place? As a whole, positional play is a set of tactics that won't necessarily fit all teams. So, for example, Burnley, they might not necessarily have the certain player profile. The players have to have certain profiles and to be trained to perform certain patterns and movements in order for this style of play to be properly executed. The benefits, however, are huge, since the team is then able to create and exploit space on a very high level and understands football through time, space and zones. However, even with that being said, no tactics are without faults, and there is no single way of playing that is better than the others. So now it's time to go into Football Manager and have a look at the 3 examples that I have created. You guys can use it. It's basically a preset, but it's how we can execute positional play in Football Manager. So now let's head over to Football Manager. So now, unfortunately, some of you guys may have missed this on stream because I actually created some of these tactics live on stream last night. If you guys want to check out my Twitch, the link will be down below in the description link. But for example number 1, we do have RDF 4-3-3 positional play Man City, and then we have a 4-3-3 positional play that is like Spain, and then lastly we have the 4-2-3-1, which is the HANSI flick example. So example number 1, Manchester City, what are we looking to do? What are we trying to create? Now we want to create that numerical superiority out in those wider flanks, which is why you can see us focusing play down the left, but also focusing play down the right as well. In those wider areas, we have 2 fullbacks on attack, and we have an inverted winger, 2 inverted wingers, both on support. Now the 2 inverted wingers, interestingly, are the ones that are going to be stretching play, holding their width, which is why they have stayed wider, but they're also going to hold up the ball. Now this is going to allow some underlap runs, which can be the fullbacks, but it can also be the central midfielders making those runs inside the winger. With this tactic, we really had an emphasis on those wider overloads, which is why the 2 central midfielders as well, they are going to be moving into the channels, which is key for this tactic. Again, once those wingers are wide and holding a width, the bid is to stretch and open up the defensive line. So we want to create space in between the channels, and then we have to exploit those channels, which the central midfielders will do by making forward runs and moving into those channels. Now we also want that first line of pressure, which is why we've got the sweeper keeper on attack. If the opposition chooses to press with 3, so marking out our holding midfielder and marking out our 2 centre backs, the goalkeeper then becomes that player in play, and that then makes a 4 versus 3 and overload a numerical superiority against the opposition's first line of pressure. Now like we said in the analysis, both centre backs at Manchester City like to stretch when they are playing out from the back. They like to open up, stretch, play wider, but also dribble with the ball or hold onto the ball to provoke the opposition to press, therefore creating a passing lane to play into that holding midfielder. That is why for our centre backs we do have dribble more, and we also have stay wider on both of the centre backs. Now in Football Manager, a lot of people may not actually use this screen, but this analysis little button here is actually fantastic for when you are now looking at zones. It has divided up the pitch in some little zones, and here you can literally click on the little squares as well to see where the heavy or the high positive influences are and where the low positive influences are. Basically who is going to be occupying these little boxes in the pitch here. Now for Pep Guardiola, when we spoke about not having 3 players operating on the same horizontal line and 2 players in the same vertical line, we can kind of use this, I would say. So for example here on the left hand side, we have a high positive influence, which is Raheem Sterling. We don't necessarily want to have 2 high positive influences in the same area or zone. Now another very interesting thing about looking at this analysis page as well, Pep Guardiola likes to create in that zone 14 area. That zone 14 area are these little boxes here just outside the opposition's area and in between both flanks. And as you can see, for us, there are some encouraging signs in this area. It probably or possibly can do a little bit better here. As you can see, there's no issues here, but maybe we want encouraging signs in all of this area. But majority of it, as we can see, encouraging signs, a lot of encouraging signs in this zone 14 area. Possibly again we can do a tad better, but this tactic is technically a preset, just like what Football Manager give you with the tiki-taka, the gegenpress, the fluid direct, or the direct counter attack. I have basically given you 3 different presets for positional play. But number 1, this is Pep Guardiola. Now we can move on to number 2, Luiz Enrique. So now for Luiz Enrique, the aim was to get the fullbacks to stretch the pitch, but then get their technical players in the middle of the pitch in between the lines so they can collect the ball, turn, and be very, very effective. This is possibly my favorite. I do like Pep. I am a huge fan of Pep, but Luiz Enrique's ideas, for me, it just I prefer it. I do prefer it. So for the attacking width, we are stretching the play, so we are going to be building out in those wider areas, mainly trying to create space in the middle, allowing our creative players to float around and look for those spaces in between the lines. For the passing tempo, we actually have slowed it, or we've turned it down. I don't know what the right terminology there is. The reason why I have done that is now we are playing with 3 playmakers in the middle, and what we're trying to do is manipulate the AI. So in real life, they're trying to manipulate real footballers. In the game, we're trying to manipulate the AI. So we are using 3 playmakers in the middle. In turn, we're trying to get the AI to recognize this and defend in those narrow spaces. In turn, opens up and leaves space out wide for our fullbacks, who then stretch the play. So with this tactic, the manipulation comes in when we're trying to play out wide, but also we have a heavy focus in the middle because that is where our playmakers are. So for the opposition, where do they defend? Do they go out wide to defend our fullbacks, or do they stay in the middle to mark out our creative players? Then we do have our inverted wingers as well. So once the fullbacks are stretching play out wide, this allows our inverted wingers to be a lot more centrally, again packing out this central area. So when it comes to the player instructions for the fullbacks, this time they are instructed to run wider with the ball and stay wider. Their aim is to stretch the play as wide as possible for us, and then the inverted wingers, differently to Pep Guardiola, are now sitting more narrow, but they're also roaming from their position looking for areas to be more effective, and that goes for the 2 advanced playmakers in the middle. The advanced playmakers, now their main duty, if we actually read it, the advanced playmaker can operate in a central midfield, attacking midfield, or wide forward positions. The advanced playmaker aims to drop into holes between the opposition's midfield and defense, making himself available for teammates' passes and aiming to turn defense into attack in an instant. Now that is exactly what we want from this Luiz Enrique tactic. We want our number 8s to be floating around looking for space in between the midfield. That is exactly what Enrique wants. And the DOP, he is no different. If we read what the DOP does, the deep line playmaker operates in the space between the defense and midfield and aims to initiate attacking moves via pinpoint passes to players positioned higher up the pitch. Again, operates in the space between the defense and midfield. That is what we want in the central areas. We want these central players, our key technical players, to be finding space in between the opposition's midfield. Now it's time for the last example, the HANSI flick 4-2-3-1. So now the aim for this tactic is to have qualitative superiority out on both flanks. We want the wing back in space in this sort of area here, so he can be 1v1 either against the right winger or the right back, and we are betting or banking on our fullback to get the beating of that player in a 1v1 situation, but also on the right wing as well. We want this winger in 1v1 situations or getting the ball in between the channels so he can drive behind a fullback or the defensive line. Therefore, the defenders have to chase him to try and get the ball off him. And for this tactic, the manipulation comes in the middle. So we are again trying to get the ball into the middle to our 3 playmakers before then hitting the ball out and focusing the play down both flanks. We're really trying to get some great attacking output out on the flanks, which is one reason why we're using focused play down the right and left as well. But also naturally the ball should be going into the middle of the pitch, because that again is where our 3 playmakers are. Once our 3 playmakers, or one of our 3 playmakers, get the ball, hopefully they listen to these instructions of focusing the play down the left and right and use their ability on the ball, such as the key pass, to get the ball out into those wider areas, especially to one of our 2 players looking to get a 1v1 situation. But we also have the passing directness to shooter as well, and now the reason for that, when teams are able to organize themselves defensively, Bayern look to overwhelm them by drawing them into smaller areas of the pitch in order to exploit larger areas of space somewhere else on the pitch. Now what we want is to force the opposition to defend in those central areas, and then we can heavily attack those wider areas, which now would be a huge big area of space. Now for all three tactics, as you can see, they are all counter pressing. Manchester City is probably the only one we don't have the counter instruction. You can probably add that if you want. I don't feel that actually affects your possession numbers. Again, we've tried this out on stream. We tried a few things. Having this on and off, it didn't really make a difference. Now the only difference it makes, it felt that we was more attacking with counter on, but it didn't actually mess up or play with the possession stats. So sorry, I just wandered off there. So as I was saying, all three of these tactics all share something similar. They all are pressing more aggressively than usual, so they all got counter press and they all got a much higher line of engagement, but also the trigger press is at least on more often. As we can see with the Manchester City tactic, they are all defending high and the trigger press is at least on more often. But why? But why? Positional play is an in-possession football philosophy, so there are no specific out-of-possession strategies employed by the teams using this style of play. However, counter-pressing is often partnered with positional play. Here, the teams look to regain possession higher up the pitch and stop counter-attacks as early as possible. This is to avoid defensive vulnerability, with teams stretched as a result of their in-possession shape. So that is one reason why all of these tactics and most tactics as well that I share that are on the positive side, especially possession based tactics, that is one reason why they always or tend to come with an aggressive press. So we do have 3 examples, but unfortunately we're not going to play 3 games in this video. Possibly that can call for a part 2 where we can just create positional play tactics and watch it play out on the match engine. But for this video we are going to use, I would say, my favorite one, which is this 4-3-3 or possibly the 4-2-3-1 actually, because I did like how the 4-2-3-1 played out on the match engine as well. But okay, so first half against Burnley, we will try and play the 4-3-3, and if we see enough then we can switch to the 4-2-3-1, but we're gonna have a go at the 4-3-3 because personally it is my favorite one. So now let's get stuck in. Oh yeah, we do have Erling Haaland, by the way. Also for this match as well, we are going to be using 2D just so we can see some things, I guess. So here's Erling Haaland, João Cancelo, Ruben, João Cancelo, Bernardo. What we're looking for now is these central midfielders all looking for space in between. There we go. Kevin De Bruyne picks up a nice little position there. Back to Ruben Neves. Ruben Diaz. We're now being very patient. There's the fullback stretching the play as well, if we can find him, but we're not. We're just going to be patient here at the back whilst the midfielders, I mean, they could do a little bit better trying to find that space. But here we are. Look, there we go. João Cancelo stretching the pitch. I'm looking for this winger to come inside now. Bernardo, Cancelo, Kevin De Bruyne there. Turns, has a shot, but it's over the bar. Here Kevin De Bruyne on a free kick. Haaland and Ilkay Gundogan has scored from a set piece. Unlike the tactic, really. But it is 1-0 nonetheless. There's Kevin De Bruyne, a free kick in similar position, and it's 2-0. Ruben Diaz, it is now 2-0. Here's Gundogan now. Plays it to Laporte. Laporte out to Zinchenko. Plays it to Haaland. He holds it. Oh, that's a great piece of play by Haaland there. Here's Taylor now for Burnley, running down that flank. Are we going to head it out? Yes, Laporte. Here is Sterling now, the central midfielders, looking for some sort of space, but he just lobs it forward to Haaland. Haaland plays it back to Bernardo, plays it back. Well, nice little 1-2. Oh, what a goal. It looks like it's off. I think it's off. I mean, Football Manager kind of tells us because it's 3-0 here, but there's no third goal scorer. That is one way you can tell if it's off or on. So that is half-time. As you can see, look at Manchester City, 63% of the ball. Now we're at half-time. We're going to take off this left back as well, which is a shame because now we're going to switch the tactic into the left back one. We're going to switch the tactic into the HANSI flick one. So we're just going to put, there we are, just that one quick switch there, and let's go. Hopefully we see something nice in the second half. It's Kevin De Bruyne, another free kick. Haaland, straight into Nick Pope's hands, but it feels like the highlight is going to continue. Yes, it is. Goes to John Stones, but he just heads it straight to Rodriguez. Let's get there first. Oh, what are they doing? It's Kevin De Bruyne. Gundogan plays it into Bernardo Silva, who whips it in, and it's Haaland. It is now 3-1 to Manchester City. So we scored goals from set pieces, which isn't great. It isn't great, but then again, there's nothing that we can do because we haven't actually set up any set pieces or any set piece routine. It's just happening. Man City are just that good from set pieces. So here we are playing out from the back, and straight away we play it to John Stones, Kevin De Bruyne. Now what we're looking for here actually is, look, here we've got a heavy, nice little overload. And we're trying to get the João Cancelo in a good little area here so he can attack this little space. I doubt it might happen in this highlight here. But we've worked it nicely out on the right-hand side. Oh, it's a sending off. It's going to be a sending off. Oh, another set piece. João Cancelo. Oh my God, what a poor pass. Roberts lobs it forward. Ruben Dias now positional play. We're in possession now. Let's go. Kevin De Bruyne, nice little space there. Kevin De Bruyne find, oh, Bernardo Silva. I mean, that is one of the areas that we're looking at as well, but again, it's offside. That is one of the areas we do want. The aim is to get the best out of Bernardo Silva, the right winger, and also the left back as well. They are the two main focuses when it comes to this qualitative superiority. And with the right winger, yeah, like we said earlier, we're trying to get him to break through. Trying to create space for him to break through. I think this is a penalty. Oh my God, another set piece goal. Here's Kevin De Bruyne on a free kick. Bang, there it is. Now Man City are just really on top, of course, because they have another set piece. My God. Heads it out by Rodriguez. John Stones is going to pick it up. He plays it back to Bernardo. He drives inside the box and hits the post. Bit of selfish there. Bit selfish. Here's John Stones. Fernandinho now. Gundogan. Plays it out wide to Sterling. There we go. We've almost created some space for that. I look, he's in space again. He's in space if we can find him, boys. Oh, no, we're not gonna hit that long diagonal. But Bernardo Silva's on the ball. Sterling, and that's a better goal. Now that there is a better goal. 5-1. That there was a much better goal. But you saw the space, the amount of space that João Cancelo had on this flank. Look at that. If we could have found a nice switch there, he's in absolute acres of space. Nice little finish there. And that there, unfortunately, wraps up this match. Manchester City 5, Burnley 1. We had 21 shots, 14 on target, XG of 3.15. And unfortunately, that wraps up this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. Don't forget as well, Surfshark. Use the link in the description for 83% off. And in this video, let me know in the comments, guys, if you want kind of a part 2 so we can see each tactic and possibly create more as well. Create more positional play tactics. Now, these tactics aren't designed to be the best football manager tactics. It's designed to get some positional play in the game. So I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I have enjoyed it. I really would like a part 2, but let me know how you guys feel, and that could be some fun. And thank you guys for turning up. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I'll see you guys soon. Stay safe. Peace out. Bloop.